What if I told you that for around $250, you can still buy a phone that looks more premium than most brand new mid-range phones in 2026? A phone with a sharp QHD display, wireless charging, fast charging, flagship materials, and enough power to make cheaper new phones feel embarrassing. Sounds like a steal, right? Well, that depends on one problem, because this phone is either one of the smartest renewed buys right now, or the exact reason some people regret chasing old flagships. Welcome back, this is Pryce, where we help you save money, buy smarter tech, and reduce unnecessary electronic waste by choosing devices that still have real value. And today, we need to talk about the OnePlus 10 Pro, because on paper, this thing still looks dangerously good for the money. First, let's talk about why it still grabs attention. You get a 6.7-inch LTPO AMOLED display, QHD resolution, 120Hz refresh rate, a 5000 mAh battery, fast wired charging, wireless charging, and the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. Even today, that does not read like a cheap phone. It reads like a device that used to be taken seriously. And that matters because a lot of people in this price range are choosing between boring new mid-range phones or old flagships that still feel expensive. And here's the first reason this phone still matters. It still feels like a flagship. The display is sharp, fluid, colorful, and more premium than what you usually get around this price. Then you add the design, the curved body, the materials, the overall look. This still feels like a phone from a more serious category. So at first glance, it makes you wonder why people keep wasting money on weaker new phones. But now comes the first doubt, because the real story is not the screen. It's not the charging either. It's the processor. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 is fast, no question. In normal use, the phone still feels snappy. Apps open quickly, scrolling feels smooth, and multitasking still feels high-end. But there's a reason that chip still makes some buyers nervous: heat. That's where opinions split. Some users still love this phone. They praise the speed, the display, the premium feel, and the charging. For light to moderate users, it can still feel excellent, but others keep bringing up the same issue: thermals. And that's the part you can't ignore, because when a phone gets warm too easily during gaming, long camera sessions, or heavy use, it stops feeling like a bargain and starts feeling like a compromise. Now here's what makes this phone tricky. The OnePlus 10 Pro is not a bad phone. In fact, that's exactly why it creates debate. It's a very good phone in the right hands. If you mostly care about display quality, charging speed, premium hardware, and overall value, it still makes a lot of sense. But if you want something cooler under pressure, more stable for long sessions, or more predictable in battery behavior, this is where the excitement gets complicated. And this leads to the camera question, because when people hear old flagship, they expect camera magic. The OnePlus 10 Pro is good here, sometimes very good, but this is not one of those phones you buy only for camera dominance. The main camera is capable, detail is solid, colors can look pleasing, and for the money, it gets the job done. But if you want the consistency of an older Galaxy Ultra or iPhone Pro, that's where reality kicks in. Personally, this is the kind of phone I respect more than I blindly recommend. People buy brand new mid-range phones with weaker hardware, slower charging, cheaper materials, and a less impressive screen just because they're newer. Then a phone like the OnePlus 10 Pro reminds you how much flagship quality can drop in price after a few years. And honestly, that's one of the biggest reasons I like renewed tech. It saves money and keeps perfectly capable devices out of the trash. So here's the verdict. The OnePlus 10 Pro is still one of the more interesting renewed buys around $250, but only if you understand the trade-off before you click buy. You're getting flagship feel, a beautiful display, premium hardware, fast charging, wireless charging, and performance that still feels fast. What you're also getting is a phone with a known weakness: heat, and depending on the kind of user you are, that will either be a small warning or the whole reason to skip it. So yes, I would still recommend it, but not to everyone. I'd recommend it to the buyer who wants maximum premium hardware for minimum money and understands that no renewed flagship is perfect. If that sounds like you, check the link below for the best deal I found. Subscribe if you enjoy smarter tech buys like this, and tell me in the comments, would you still trust an old OnePlus flagship in 2026? Peace, health, and well-being in your home.